Hey there, boils and ghouls. Welcome to another episode of Hollow Weekly. Nick Rollins here with
George Healy.
And today, didn't mean to cut you off there. I was so excited.
I don't need a last name.
Last names are for the birds.
That's right.
And today we are bringing you our top 10 winter/Christmassy horror film/TV shows to watch.
Absolutely.
If you love horror and you love the horror community, consider heading over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/hollowweekly, where we have the best interactive game that you will find on Slack. We call it Last Fan Standing, and every Monday, Wednesday, Friday, we come out with a new story where it's sort of a choose your own / roll your own adventure. You get a great little story, and you get to see if you get to be a part of it by rolling your fate. So head on over to patreon.com/hollowweekly. Now for the main show. Top 10 Christmas. Well, is it top 10?
Let's just do Christmas horror.
This is Christmas horror. This is a no.
Let's do it. Christmas winter
I'm
horror.
so anal about, like, is this by my favorite? Because this is, but the fact that we're gonna alter, left and right. It's not like a.
But see, the thing is,
order.
This is so weird to me because I realized getting ready for this episode that I actually really love this subgenre of horror. Like, I like Christmas/winter horror, which is, and I didn't realize how many good movies were in it and how much I look forward to it. But I personally, I left most of the winter horror thing out because then it would have been The Thing and whatever. I went pretty much Christmas horror.
Mine is, I would say one of them is in the winter category. Mm-hmm. The rest all have a Christmas vibe to them.
Perfect.
And I was gonna say, you were saying how Christmas makes everything. Like, I would say snow makes everything better.
Yes.
Because what's the best part of Star Wars? Battle of Hoth.
Wow. Good
Hands
point.
down.
Out of nowhere. I didn't expect that.
I always say snow just makes it just ramps the production value.
Very good point.
All the way up. So, do you want me to kick off the list?
Yes. But let's just I want to get this out of the way right at the top. Okay. Gremlins is the best Christmas horror movie ever made. And with the possibility of Black Christmas original.
Silent Night, Deadly Night.
Yeah.
The newcomer Krampus.
Yeah. But yeah, exactly. The newcomer Krampus. But I was trying to reach a little deeper to, like, my must-watch that weren't so obvious, right?
Yeah.
But that does not mean that I'm not watching Gremlins, because I'm totally watching Gremlins. I like December 20th.
Yeah, everyone's good, yeah.
Yeah, it's amazing and whatever. But to do this list, I wanted to reach a little deeper and come up with some that might be a little unexpected. So...
Is Scrooged on your list?
So this is not... No, but this is not, like, the top Christmas horror movies. This is my must-watch Christmas horror movies.
These are
just so we get this out of the way.
These are things that... No, I'll say mine's the top. I would say scientifically mine are... Okay. I'm ready to be wrong.
All right,
though.
Well, yours better be...
Well, no, because I'm going to start off. I'm going to start off.
Yeah, you start out. Go.
Okay, so I have to admit this. So we know this is Christmas horror.
Yes.
I'm not going to say this film is horror by any stretch of the imagination, but I will say it is dark enough.
Okay.
And certainly influenced by horror enough to be eligible for this because, one, like I said, dark enough, takes place on Christmas or around Christmas, and one, it's enjoyable, and it gives us it's the what were we calling the truffle oil of we called found footage of truffle oil of horror films. It comes in waves of popularity,
which was great.
So this film is my truffle.
If you say Home Alone, I'm leaving this podcast.
No. I'm going to go with Batman Returns.
Oh.
Think about it.
Interesting.
So one, I know.
I've got one on my list that's exactly like what you just did.
Do you really?
Probably not as cool as what you just did. But
it's definitely not horror,
totally
but it's Tim Burton's.
Yeah.
It's very dark. Danny DeVito's very scary. Christopher Walken's character is named Max Schreck
Max Schreck.
Yeah, Max Schreck.
Totally.
Named after the actor who played Nosferatu.
I'm so with you. I am so down with this.
And like the intro when the clowns are taking over Gotham after the tree lighting ceremony, it's fucking terrifying. I get scared the shit out of me.
It's got a really storytelling vibe. Like when they do the flashbacks that, I don't know. It's got it. That
It
part
goes
of,
to Christmas pasty kind of.
exactly. And horror makes me think of like that saying stories around a fire.
You know what's funny?
Which that movie has that vibe more than like almost any studio movie I can think of.
Yeah, and in one, I really like the Christmas vibe of it because Batman in the wintertime always looks fucking cool.
Yep.
And I even like the ending, like after when Bruce Wayne's sitting there, he's like, "Merry Christmas to all," or it's "and goodwill to all men and women," and then it cuts to Catwoman. Like I fucking love that ending.
Totally.
But
Catwoman, by the way, is one of the bleakest characters in a mainstream. Everyone sort of missed it, but she's super bleak. She's a very depressing character with a very depressing character arc.
Yeah.
And a very depressing worldview and very, very dark, right? Like one of my favorite moments in that movie is when she smashes the neon in her apartment where she's living. And
right when she's snapping.
Yeah, and it says hell here because it was said hello there and she knocks out the O and the T. And hell here is pretty much the most on the nose horror signifier you could put in a movie, right? I'm in hell.
And there's even a few things like I always thought Danny DeVito's penguin makeup was real intense. Like it was really frightening. And even the end when Christopher Walken gets electrocuted, like the skeleton or like the corpse he turns into, like fucking frightening. Like that always scared the shit out of me. But I feel like this is just dark enough to make my list while giving it a little bit of variety because it's still a Batman. I actually like it more than 89 as a Batman.
Yeah, it's my favorite Batman movie. Of any Batman.
I like it. And the music when I think it's Danny Elfman's finale part 2 when the penguin dies is fucking heartbreaking. But I have to go with Batman Returns. It hits the Christmas vibe for me just right. I love the happy heroic ending, but I like how dark it gets and how kind of freaky
I'm totally with you. This movie is not a horror movie, but it has a jump scare that really got to me. It really bothered me.
Which part?
The part where Christopher Walken pushes her out the
window. Yeah, dude, and that build-up.
And the way he does it, right?
He like laughs at her and kind of shrugs it off.
Yeah,
and
she's like, it's not like you can just kill me. And he's like, it's a lot like that. And then, when it happened, I was in the theater when it happened. I was like, did that just happen? Holy shit.
It's real dark.
That was, it was absolutely, and actually scary. So I am 1,000% behind this pick. I'm disappointed in myself. I didn't think of it.
I had to give in that disclaimer first though, because if I just said Batman Returns, people are like, fuck you, it's not horror. So I'm like, all right, let me just
we know it's not a
bounce
horror
around
movie,
it,
but I mean, this is the must watch for
Christmas.
Well, I guess we should have said horror or with dark elements, right? So then,
but what is horror? It's dark elements,
right.
So
but here's one of the really I'm team Batman Returns forever. Like I said, it's my favorite.
But not Batman Forever.
No. I'm not team Batman Forever. But I got so mad when they insulted this movie. When did they insulted it with what's Batman in now? Justice League?
Yeah, Justice League.
Yeah. Did you see Justice League?
No, I didn't see it.
Okay.
No.
So there's a moment when they're talking to Batman and he's like, oh, we got to face this really dark Steppenwolf villain, and then
there's a line about penguins.
Yeah, he goes. I miss the world where we just fighting like stupid rocket propelled penguins, and I almost got out of my chair. I was like, "Fuck you!" I mean, the penguins are pretty dumb, but they're great, and whatever. Your movie sucks compared to Batman Returns. So,
everyone will remember Danny DeVito as Penguin. Who the fuck
played Steppenwolf?
Yeah, I don't, and I know I saw comments saying like, "Oh, they like that voice actor," but I don't know who that is because it's not fucking Danny DeVito, so it's S&D.
I'm with you.
All right, so that was my first pick.
That's a great pick. All right, so anyone who follows this podcast with any regularity knows that I have an inordinate amount of love for this. Not too terrific slasher, but it just does all kinds of things right for me. I can't do anything about it. It's called P2.
Mm-hmm.
And it's...
and I believe that's coming up on Hello, Can We Go? Is that right?
Or I imagine it is. But so, I won't go into a lot of detail about this movie, but it's set it's got a very Christmassy setting. And of all the movies on my list, there's only one, maybe two, that are more like Christmassy feeling. It starts with with a very, very heavy Christmas vibe. But it's a really weirdly competent movie. Like, it's really well put together. The scares are super solid. But you're following a person who... One of the things I was looking for in the movies that I was picking was, anyone can just throw Christmas lights up and then call it a Christmas movie. And even some of the ones that, like, I didn't put on here, like Santa Claus, spelled like claws, like cat claws.
Yeah.
Or Santa Sleigh, or some of the other ones.
The Santa Claus with Tim Allen.
Which I
didn't understand for years.
Yeah.
And I was like, it wasn't until like 3 years ago here? When I watched it, I went, fuck, that's what it is. What that was. All right.
But you can Christmas up a movie just by putting lights, but I wanted to find movies that sort of dove in a little deeper into what holidays actually mean. And this movie really hits the sweet spot of how annoying Christmas can get when you got to visit. So the main character is trying to get to family, and she's overwhelmed with presents. And it's one of my favorite scenes in the movie. She's got like 50 bags of presents, and she's in a big office complex building, and she's just trying to hail a cab and get out, and she's late, but she can't move fast because she's weighed down by like 500 pounds of presents. Jesus. And the whole building is like, Christmased up, but it's getting in the way of the door and the way that the building functions. So holidays can be super annoying, right?
Very inconvenient.
You got to visit people you don't want to visit sometimes, and you got to, trade presents with people who are going to get you worse presents than you got them. And this movie really...
Which grinds my gears.
Exactly. I hope I didn't get you in Secret Santa. So that's the thing is I really hit that element. So it kind of had that deeper level to me, but it's a really, really well done movie. It's got a great quote unquote final girl. It's got a great villain because this guy is doing the nice quote unquote Ted Bundy thing. He seems clean cut. He seems helpful, he seems whatever, and the movie doesn't rush it. It that he's creepy and evil because he's not hiding it that well, but he's hiding it well enough from her because she's distracted by the fucking holidays.
Yeah.
So but it didn't give just like 2 beats and then turn him into a villain. It really established him as he's like an eggshell. Like he's gonna crack, and you're gonna see what's inside of him. But there's these little cracks, but he's trying to hold it together, and he doesn't even snap until maybe the last third of the movie, like full on, right? Like he's doing evil things most of the time, but he's doing it with this polite Norman Bates quiet tone, and it's not until the end of the movie when he starts busting out like the profanity and the I'm going to kill you and eat your children and all like other stuff that he...
Merry Christmas.
Merry Christmas. And it has the super saddest Christmas meal of any Christmas movie I've ever seen.
That sounds the most depressing.
Right? Exactly. And I thought that was because I was looking at all these Christmas movies, and even the horror movies, they had like great feast or great meals, but he kidnaps this woman basically. Yeah. He wants her to spend Christmas with him in the parking garage.
Is that his motive?
He's a security guard. Yeah, he's in love with her. He wants to, and he also has been watching through the surveillance cameras that other men have been hitting on her, and they make him mad. So he's killing all of them. But he wants her to spend Christmas with him, and he dresses up as Santa Claus, and she wakes up. She's been drugged. She wakes up, and she's looking at this doofus dressed up as Santa Claus. And then he takes like a Stouffer's microwave dinner and microwaves it and puts it in front of her.
Bon appetit, baby.
It's the worst. I was like, she's gonna escape just to get away from the food, like right? Like you're doing this all wrong. So I'm a big fan of this.
I will say if he did pull out like a Stouffer's mac and cheese.
Okay.
Maybe.
Right. No, it wasn't one of those things. It was like Salisbury steak.
Gross. Okay, I'm checking out.
Exactly. Yeah, when she ran, I was like, she's not running.
Fuck you, fake Santa. I'm out.
All right. What's your next on your list?
All right. So this film we've been given a lot of love to lately. So this is the winter horror film, and it wasn't until we watched it for How Low Can We Go we decided, hey, this is Christmas horror. Ghost Story. Yeah, 1981's Ghost Story. Mm-hmm. Just to me, like this is like like it feels like an established classic film. Like if someone gave you a collection of like Dracula, Frankenstein,
Sure.
Psycho,
Sure.
something in Aliens in the 70s or something like that. Like
Right.
it just like monumental films. I feel like this one should represent some shit in the 80s because it's 81, so it meets that
Absolutely.
mark.
Absolutely.
But it just feels like classic fucking Hollywood. Like it feels great.
Totally.
But we were just talking. We mentioned I always think of the Andy Williams version of Most Wonderful Time of the Year, like where it's like what Tales of the Glory, Tales of Scary Ghost Stories, which never made sense to me. I never told ghost stories around Christmas time, but these guys did, and I was like, bingo, there's the Christmas.
No, totally.
so
That's
10.
a very English thing.
Is it?
Yeah, England loves to tell fucking spooky ghost stories at Christmas.
That's too spooky for me.
It's kind of cool.
But anyways, I was just thinking about like how well done it is, and then like I mentioned in the episode of How Low Can We Go, which you guys should check out. Like the establishing shots of the town feels like those tin cans of like cookies you get. It feels like the painting on one of those.
Totally.
It has like a very cold feel to it. So you feel sort of like that dread that the weather brought that it's now bringing to those characters.
And it's interesting because it wasn't until we rewatched it for the podcast that I realized how iconic it is, but didn't catch on.
That's what I'm saying. Like
But what's really weird about that is that's a direct analogy for Peter Straub, who wrote the book, because Peter Straub is really, really close with Stephen King. They've co-authored like 3 novels together.
Yeah,
he's a great author, but he just never caught on the way that he can make iconic things the way like Stephen King did with Christine and the Overlook Hotel and whatever. He makes iconic things, but for some reason they're just like a slightly off target.
Yeah.
So they're not bullseyes like StephenKing fires.
Like they have like it's like they have just enough rocket fuel in there, but not enough to make it to orbit.
But it's cool because he has this weird, in my mind, he has this weird niche where I couldn't name another Peter Straub movie to save my life.
Yeah.
I've read most of his books. He's written great books. He wrote Floating Dragon. He wrote Shadowland. He wrote a lot of great books. He wrote Coco, which is an amazing book. But I don't remember.
Not the Pixar film.
No, not the. No, this is
which was an amazing
Coco
film.
with 2 Ks. So, but he just missed somehow, and that movie feels that way. Like it's just a little bit off, but you kind of appreciate how great it is without being, King himself, right? So I think that's a good choice. I think it's really
good. It fits the winter vibe that you'll get, and on top of having an amazing film with Dick Smith's makeup.
Yes.
Bing.
Boom. All right. So my next film is. I just showed you clips of it because I'm so excited about this movie.
I've never seen this movie.
I'm so excited about this movie. So it's called Saint Nick, but it was called Sint.
I love the title.
Yes, of course you do. It was called Sint, S-I-N-T. I thought you might have it on your list. I thought you might have found it because of the name, but you...
No, I tried to make like a hipstery list.
No,
it's not as hipster. It's pretty hip though.
But here's the thing. So this movie, it's 2010/11, I think because it had a foreign release and then our release from America. But it's a Dutch film, and it's a horror comedy, and it is insane. It is so insane, and it's so great. Saint Nick is like this killer force. First of all, he's got like a ghost gang with him, and they're like the pirates from The Fog.
That's the vibe I got when you showed it to me.
I have not seen a movie that itched that spot that The Fog itched until this movie. Like it's got that kind of vibe to it, especially with the storytelling. We got a lot of storytelling movies on this list, which I think is really cool. The design of the killer Saint Nick is amazing.
Really, you know who? Because I've only seen the clips that you showed me before we started recording. It almost looks like the main lead inbred dude from Wrong Turn.
Yeah,
a little bit.
Like in the close-ups.
Yeah, because his mouth's constantly open.
But for sure, but he's got like that iconic hat, and then he's got a killer staff.
Yeah, that was pretty cool.
Which he just uses to do mayhem. Like there's a decapitation thing in this, which is the most casual, brutal decapitation kill I've ever seen in a horror movie. He just wraps this thing around some guy's neck, and then he just slaps it and it spins around the neck, and
Perfectly.
he catches it back. It's like a sport. It's like curling but with heads. So I mean, he's got this evil move, but just the car chase, gunshot scene, chase of Saint Nick over the rooftops, and the craft that went in this. I did not expect this movie to be made so well, because a cheesier, like the Santa Claus kind of movie thing, whatever, it would have given you the shot. It wouldn't have been nearly as beautiful as this movie. These shots are gorgeous, but it would have been a rooftop scene, and he's on a horse, and Saint Nick's riding on the roof, and there's a police car on the ground driving, and he's shooting at him like he's fucking James Bond, and there's just great framing shots of Saint Nick on the roof and with the moon next to him, and just amazing. But it would cut during the chase to the camera following the horse through the rooftops, which was a very cool like following shot, and then it would cut into the building beneath them where there were people at a party, and you just heard the
thumps.
Yeah, you heard hoof prints on the roof, and just the fact that it had the care to kind of present this scene from all these different angles and elements was like super not lazy. So I mean, they were trying to make a legitimately fun.
And the effects, like, it seemed like a low budget film, but like, I mean, you could like the effects. It looked like they put a lot of heart into them.
Yeah, for sure.
You know what I mean? Like,
absolutely.
They obviously they don't look like Pacific Rim 2.
No,
but they it fits the vibe from what I saw.
Yes,
from what I've
and
seen
there's a lot of great like kills and mayhem. But one of the things that really just won me over, this movie won me over by the fact that there was, the idea of just going all out. It had a manic energy to it that reminded me of the movie Housebound. It has a very similar tone to that movie. So if you like smart, over the top, no pulled punches horror comedy, this is.
I want to watch it. I've just seen those few clips. I know.
Badass.
I know. I would dig the shit out of it.
All right.
Well, Saint Nick, what a title. All right, so this one is my. Okay, so actually, my last three are television.
All right, let's do it.
Funny enough. All right, so I'm actually going to go for number 3 on my list, the Black Mirror White Christmas special.
Oh, yeah.
You saw that one, man?
Did.
Fuck, dude. I watched it a little while ago, and I was like, I wanted to put some flavor in the list, because we didn't want to do the whole Gremlins, Black Christmas, Silent Night, Deadly Night type route. And I was like, what can I put on that's so different? And then I remember this episode, and I forgot how much of a mind fuck this episode is. If you haven't seen it, it messes with perception of time like more than like what Inception did.
Wow.
Wouldn't you say? Because they make because at the end the guy's punishment is he has to serve 1,000 years a minute, and they leave him in there for a day.
Yes. Yeah. I mean, it's definitely bleaker, but yeah, and no ambiguity. Like, he's fucked.
Yeah, and so basically, I wrote down the synopsis because it's kind of it's told in 3 parts. So a guy named Matt Trent, played by John Hamm, who's fucking good in everything. Like, I wish,
great actor.
Like, if they're saying Ben Affleck's on the way out as Batman, like, just give me one film with
good call
with John Hamm in there. And then and so it's Matt Trent and Joe Potter, played by, I'm gonna botch his name, Rafi Spall, who's fucking fantastic. I can't tell you what else he's been in, but I know that face. What the fuck was he in? Was in some? Was it a rom-com that I watched? It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. They're stationed at a small remote outpost in the middle of the snowy wilderness on Christmas Day. Matt is preparing Christmas dinner, while I Wish It Could Be Christmas Every Day plays on the radio. He talks to Joe about what brought him to the outpost, a topic they never discuss in the 5 years they've been there. Or is it 5 years?
Right.
That's where it gets interesting.
Right.
Joe is reluctant, so Matt opens up for the first time to explain why he came. So it basically... There's 2 stories. The guy John Hamm's talking to, it tells his story about, they have these weird things where like it's sort of like, imagine if you blocked someone on Facebook, but you could actually not see them in real life. Like, you could see their body, but it blurs out their face, and you can't talk to them. So when you talk to them, it sounds like sounds like that. So
that's how most people sound.
That's how most people sound, anyways, because they don't know how to talk. Fast and Furious Tokyo Drift.
Yes.
So his wife or his significant other blocks him out, and then he stalks her for years and years and years, going to their grandparents' house so he can watch his daughter Lisa give, blah, blah, blah. His lover dies in a train accident or something like that. He finally sees the daughter, realizes it's definitely not his.
Right.
He gets upset, kills the grandfather, and basically leaves the girl there who's out in the middle of nowhere. They both die. John Hamm is trying to get that story out of him, but he has a fucked up past because he creates these things called cookies, which is basically your conscious, where you leave it in your head, and it's like a replica of your conscious, and then you upload it as a personal assistant. But the way you get, and this is the part that made me fucking sick, because I was like, that's kind of cool. Like you have your own personal Siri, but the way you do it is you just force it to basically be your slave by he takes the cookie from his wife, puts it in, and he goes, hey, do all this, but the cookie thinks that she's the actual wife. She doesn't know that she's just this fake AI,
of course,
digital version of her. And he goes, all right, well then I'll let you sit here in this white room for 2 weeks. And 2 weeks goes by in like a second, and she's like, fuck you, I'm never gonna do that. Then he goes, okay, 6 months. And then he like takes a bite of toast while like 6 months go by. And by the time it cuts back to her, 6 months in her eyes, or 6 months in reality was only like, a few bites of toast.
Right.
By then she's a zombie and says, I'll do whatever you want. And you realize he's creating those types of things, and it makes you fucking sick. Like, it made me like kind of like think of Siri, like, I'm sorry. I'm so sorry.
Right?
I'll never yell at you when you can't set my alarm right the first time. And so then John Hamm gets the story out of the guy. They both have their punishment, whatever. But holy fuck, like, it's just like the way I explain it is completely terrible compared to how the story's
amazing.
told.
It makes me. It feels to me like if Edgar Allan Poe was alive now and had a subscription to like Wired and was caught up on tech and wrote for TV, it would be
something like
what
that.
Black Mirror is doing. Like it's so dark
and it's so unsettling, but it's so good.
Yep.
Like that's why. I always pray for a day Tales from the Crypt or Twilight Zone comes back. Well, actually, Jordan Peele might bring it back, hoping that pans out.
Right.
But if it never does and Black Mirror keeps going, I think I'll be just okay.
Yeah. No, it's amazing.
I think I'll dig it. But yeah, this episode
definitely our generation's Twilight Zone.
That episode fucked me up. That probably messed me up more than what is it, The Hate of a Nation, the finale.
Yeah.
This episode, I think I probably dug a little more.
You know what's weird is I have a feeling All Through the House is on your list. And there's a movie called
All Through the House in 2015.
Yeah, and there's a weird controversy about this movie that I uncovered. So I have not seen
Is this
All
on
Through
your
the
list?
House. No. Is it on your list?
Maybe.
Okay.
No.
No,
I
I don't want to talk about something that's on your list. We'll talk about it.
Well, technically, that movie is not on my list.
Oh, yeah. Okay, so the movie, there's a weird controversy. I have not seen the movie. And I was, trying to catch up. Like, are there holiday horror movies that I missed that should be on this list? So I was trying to find some, that I hadn't seen. And this movie got a lot of really good reviews. And then I found another review that said all the good reviews this movie got were hoaxes.
No fucking way.
That it gamed the system and just put the same 2 good reviews on every website. And if you go to the IMDb, when you search it, it's got a lot of positive reviews, but they're from like fake. It was just a weird scenario that this movie totally gamed the system. So it got all these great reviews, and then I watched the trailer. I'm like, I should check out this movie before we record this podcast. And the trailer was pretty crap. And I was like, wait a minute, what's going on here? Why does this movie have so many good reviews when it seems like crap? So I would love to know if anyone who's listened to the podcast or
if the creators out there,
their Facebook page, or exactly. I would love to know if anyone saw this and what they genuinely thought of it, because now this movie really intrigues me, but it's not on my list.
You know what? You just started a new segment, Hollow Weekly Investigates. Bum bum.
All right, I love the theme music for Bum Bum.
That's all it is. Hopefully, the Law and Order people don't sue us. Do they own Bum Bum?
That's all it is. They don't own that because that's not their music. But...
Yeah, that was composed by me. That's an original piece.
I like it. We'll pay you out of the
Thank you.
Hollow Weekly LLC for
there we go.
That composition. All right, so I'm going to do my curveball movie next. This is my Batman Returns.
Okay. All right, I'm ready.
I feel like this is midway through intermission, everyone can just tune out. Everyone who's going to get mad at me for saying
We already got the download.
that's fine. But I'm going with Eyes Wide Shut. Now
I saw that on some lists.
you did.
Yeah.
Oh, I thought I was being original. Fuck, I didn't.
No. But it was only like one of the lists, and it was like 30 horror
On
films.
Christmas. Oh, really?
Yeah, it was like of 30 Christmas horror films, but like they were obviously padding the stats.
Yeah.
So like it's still very original.
Right. Okay,
Or your take on it will probably be very original.
Well, no. So here's the thing. Here's my argument. First of all, it's Kubrick. I feel like
Yes.
Kubrick gets a pass. Like he just gets a horror pass. He can go anywhere he wants in the horror high school. Like you can't stop him. He gets to go where he wants to go. But it's also a very, very dark movie. It's not a horror movie. Let's just get out of the way right now. But there are horrifying moments in it. It is really bleak. But here's the reason it's like my must watch for that. I couldn't leave it off the list is just because it is. I am not kidding. Like anyone who has not seen this movie, they're not going to believe me when I say this. It is the most beautiful Christmas movie ever shot. It's more beautiful than It's a Wonderful Life. It's more beautiful than Miracle on 34th Street. It is the most beautiful Christmas movie ever shot. Christmas is pervasive in this movie. It's almost every shot of the movie is Christmas colors, Christmas backgrounds, Christmas music. And that's what no one who hasn't seen it, they just think it's like sex and nudity and
Yeah.
Tom Cruise being weird and like whatever. But I am in such a holiday mood after I've seen it, but I'm also super disturbed because some really dark shit happens in this movie. But it's the opening scenes, that Christmas party. If I could go to any Christmas party ever depicted in cinema, I would go to the opening Christmas party of Eyes Wide Shut. It's amazing. I
haven't seen it, but I know there's like a big orgy scene. It's not that, right?
Yeah, no.
No. Okay.
It's not. No, it's not.
I mean, if
that.
it is, I don't care where
No,
you go.
no,
It's
it's
your
not.
Christmas, man. Like I'm not dictating what you do.
Nick investigates.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh, it got more dramatic. There's more bums. You're
That was just an
you're
echo.
rewriting that.
We did a vocal echo.
No, the opening party is when Tom Cruise and Nicole Kidman, who are husband and wife, go to a rich guy's house, who is Sidney Pollack, who R.I.P. dearly missed, amazing actor and director. And he's holding a party, and he's done up his mansion as for the holidays. And that's when they first sort of meet some of the characters that are going to play really pivotal roles in the rest of the movie.
Gotcha.
The orgy scene is kind of like maybe just past the halfway point of the movie, so it's way further on. But there are, what happens is, I'm not. You can't even do a synopsis for a Kubrick movie. I'm not going to try. But Tom Cruise is wandering through London, which is unbelievably recreated by Kubrick. It's just. I can't even. I mean, there were scenes. I mean, he shot like 75 takes on some of these scenes. Just insane amount of attention to detail and perfectionism and whatever. But Tom Cruise is wandering around London, and London is totally done up for Christmas, and nobody does Christmas like London. So there's all these background scenes of him going into restaurants and little cafes and hotels, and they're all just Christmased up, and it's just amazing. It's a really, really underrated movie, with murder, with suicide, with blackmail, with threats, with violence, with morgues. There's a Christmas morgue in this fucking movie.
Did they decorate the morgue?
Yes.
God damn.
That's what I'm telling you.
There we go. So it definitely should be on the list.
Yeah. So I'm just gonna. This was my one curveball. I'm just gonna plead for it because I think it's. I
think that fits.
No one would ever think of this movie as a holiday movie, and they're all wrong.
That's funny. I thought you were gonna say no one would think this is like a horror film, but it was like no one would ever think this is a Christmas film.
No.
Flipping the script. I like that.
All right.
All right. So my next one. Now this one I've watched before, and I thought it was a little weird because I had it on the background. Then I watched it again for the show, and I realized like how much I love how the Twilight Zone handles characters. Mm-hmm. Have you seen this one? So it's the Twilight Zone episode called "The Night of the Meek."
No. Maybe
Santa Claus.
No.
So there's a department store Santa Claus who's like,
oh, maybe I saw this.
he's the super like drunk like Santa Claus.
Oh, I definitely saw this.
Yeah, I fuck it. So I watched it the first time and I was like, basically it's about a drunk guy who doesn't care for the world around him because
this episode is great. It's like coming back to me.
So he's basically, it starts with a department store guy who's like this like finicky like just this big nerd. Everyone's in the department store and they're like, Santa Claus should be here at 6. And then it cuts to a bar and Santa's like down in shots and like eating a sandwich. And he just, and like his like beard's dirty and shit like that. And he's late for his job and he gets fired. And he hates the world around him because he's like, when I go home, I see all these poor children. I see all these poor people living in these shit environment. There's nothing I can do about it. Like he just has there's a sense of hopelessness. Yes. Which I think a lot of people like feel. They're like, I can't fucking change the world.
Right.
Like I can't do shit. And
yeah, hopelessness is 2017's thing.
That's like the theme. and so he has this really great line about like, I just the reason I drink is because I there's nothing I can do and I hate what I see. And he is a fire department store Santa wearing this. He's in Santa outfit the whole episode, which is great. And he stumbles across this Santa Claus bag that's like spilling out toys and gifts and candy. And so then he goes to like this like it's like a homeless shelter type thing where like they're all singing shit, and he comes in and they start asking for gifts, and someone's like, hey, I want this. Whoop, he pulls it out of the bag. There it fucking is. And so the police officer and the store owner catch wind of it, and they think he stole all this shit. So then they go to pull some shit out, and they pull out like garbage, and like a cat comes out of the thing. And the guy's like, it's just a magic fucking thing. And the guy, he goes, tell me whatever you want. And he asks for like some fancy bottle of something from like 1903. And fucking Santa's like, well, here you go. I'm Santa Claus, motherfucker. There you go. And what ends up happening is he starts to bring joy. So actually, I should read the synopsis here. After convenience store Santa Claus is fired on Christmas Eve, he finds a mysterious bag that gives out presents. With this bag, he sets to fulfill his one wish: to see the less fortunate inherit the bounties of Christmas. So it's all about how like Christmas for some people is like I don't want to say it gives them hope, like a little bit of joy when their year sucks ass. And the motherfucker ends up being Santa Claus, like because he gets so excited that he can fulfill his wish of giving people gifts, making all these children happy, and he goes, I wish I could do this all the time. And then he turns the corner and there's a fucking sleigh and an elf, and they're like. The elf goes, all right, well, let's get out of here, like dusts off his seat and shit. And then he just flies away. And the department store clerk and the police officer who's been on his ass the whole time just goes, was that? And they go, yeah, I think that was him.
Amazing.
And then Rod Serling has this really great thing saying, there's nothing's mightier than the meek. And it ends with like this like super feel good Christmassy, but like Twilight Zone feel.
What a great.
And it's just it's a weird episode, but like, it's Twilight Zone, and it makes you feel good, and it's a Christmas thing. So getting a feel-good episode from Twilight Zone is very few and far between.
No, and there's something like It's a Wonderful Life is clearly the best Christmas movie ever made. Come at me, Christmas Story fans, but it's the whole flashback when they're showing Jimmy Stewart what was like when he was dead. Like how everything would have changed. That had such a Twilight Zone vibe. There's something about that recipe, like holidays and that weirdo, sort of dark but hopeful.
It's like, hey, you should probably be a good human being,
right? Yeah, it really suits the holiday, and it's very cool. I'm so glad I want to rewatch that. Like,
it's so fucking good. Like and knowing because this episode, was written by Rod Serling,
right?
And he was a pretty big activist, and you can see the way he saw the world in this episode, where he's just like don't. I love this episode. He talks about like don't forget about the little people during this thing, and I'm like, God damn, do we need more fucking stories like that right now?
Bring that guy
so this
back.
Episode is totally fucking relevant.
Yeah, and you know what's really cool too is that Twilight Zone. There was a magic to what Rod Serling and everyone that worked on that show did, where they were able to sketch in characters with one or two brushstrokes. Just really, like give you a couple personality traits, and usually that's a big fail, right? Usually when you like, I know I keep bashing this movie over and over again. Sorry, because it's just the one that always pops into my head or whatever. But Don't Breathe, they gave you like one or two characteristics for each of the characters, the ones who invaded the house and the blind guy, and they were all just cardboard cutouts. I didn't give a shit about any of them. Right, because one was into money because his name was Money, and one
Money,
whatever,
something like that.
Yeah, exactly. But Twilight Zone could do the same thing where they just gave you one or two quick character traits, and you felt like you knew the whole person.
Yeah,
I don't know how the fuck
this
they
episode,
did it.
you know the person from looking at him.
Right.
One, because he's like slunched over and dirty, but like when the bartender's like, you know, you had 6 somethings and a sandwich, will be $3.50, and the way he like pulls out his money, he's just like slowly brings out his money's crumbled up and he just kind of lays it on the thing. Just in that little interaction, you know what all this guy's about. And I mean, you know, it's also like a redemption story. Like, you know, it's basically like, you know, if this person has one shot to change their life and make a difference, he does it, and he like fucking turns into Santa Claus.
Right, exactly. And anyone who had a bag that produced anything, I mean, 99% of people would just take that bag to their house and just pull shit for themselves out of it.
Yeah, exactly.
Like
exactly. He goes to the town to make the town a better place.
Exactly.
It's just such a good fucking episode.
I love it.
And it's a little different. It's not as dark as some of the other.
No, I gotta watch that. That's
and
really
it's 22 minutes.
Yeah.
You got 22 minutes.
All right, I'm embarrassed that I'm following your choice with what I'm about to say. I'm so embarrassed. God damn it that you put me in this position. And I would switch movies because I have another movie that could sort of stand toe to toe with you.
Tell me what you
picked. But that would be my number one, and I can't. I just gotta get this out of the way. So.
Okay.
All right. So we all know Black Christmas is my favorite Christmas horror movie.
Yes.
But I'm gonna go to the mat here for a minute for the Black Christmas remake. Okay.
Oh, okay.
So obviously, it's the people who like Black Christmas original. They're ready to hate this movie. There's no doubt about it, right?
Yeah.
It was really, really different in tone. It made some very questionable plot changes. I look at it as its own thing, right? I think about it as you got to get the original out of your head to even approach this movie. This movie's fucking 14% on Rotten Tomatoes.
Fucking really?
It got a lot of hate, right?
So we wouldn't even get to that till like next year. How low can we go?
No, and I had it on the list for as a possible for when we get down to that part. But I think this movie is way better than it gets credit for. And so, first of all, it's directed by Glenn Morgan of fucking X-Files fame. Right. So this guy is not, he's not a joke, right? He's done some really cool shit. But the cast is pretty great. Like they're all playing like sorority sisters, but it's not cheesy. I actually think they're better differentiated and sketched out than in the movie Happy Death Day.
Oh, gotcha.
So, you know, you go into this from the trailer and the posters and the marketing, you would thought just exploitation, show some sorority sisters, show them naked, watch them get killed, you know, that's, you know, whatever. The one thing that really hurts this movie is it spent way too much time giving the villain a backstory, which was crap.
It didn't do that a whole lot in the original, right?
No, but yeah, and that was a big mistake. And there's some really comical, weird choices in this movie. All the shit with the eyes, they went way overboard with that. They got way too excited about eye punctures and eye eating and eye things. It was really cool effect when you found corpses and their eyes were pulled out and they just had like that black empty space.
Oh yeah.
That was a cool thing, but you know, there was so much of like whatever Evil Dead did with the flying eye across the room, this movie did for like 25 minutes, which was way too much. And the fake out ending, although I liked the Halloween 2 vibe of it, was also sort of bullshit, but it did.
How's the remake end? Because the original ends with the woman at the windowsill, right, wrapped in this.
Yeah. So the remake ends with. So one of the reasons I really like this movie is I think that Katie Cassidy is an underrated final girl or a horror heroine. She is really, really tough, but she's very, very believable. But she kills one of the villains with a heart defibrillator in the hospital, which is just great because she's got to like fire it up and then get it to
clear,
go and contact and all that stuff, and she like figures all that out and then gets it ready, and then when the guy attacks her, she just fries him, which was great.
That's pretty dope.
But there's a lot of really cool, almost like Suspiria-esque. Oh my god, everyone's gonna get mad at me. Suspiria-esque like use of gore, because the original doesn't have almost any gore at all. So that they went sort of over the top with that part, and that was a good differentiator. But it's got really gorgeous like Christmas. It's the best use of, I think, of any of the movies on my list. The best use of Christmas music. So there's a scene where they are going to get in the car, and of course, the villain is waiting in the car, obviously in the back seat, right? Like always. But when they fire the car up, it just blasts Christmas music as soon as it gets going. So you got this dichotomy of them about to get brutally murdered. You got like Christmas music on the radio just blaring, and it's a cool whatever. But there were just little touches that made it. There's very creepy uses of the villain being a voyeur, like spying on people. He like pops out tiles from the floor and stares at them from the floor, and you just see this little creepy fucking eye. And then there's a scene there's a great moment in the frozen car. They go to the car, and the head of the house and one of the sorority girls they get in the car, and you can't see anything. Everything's iced over, and they're about to try to drive and escape. And the house mistress picks up the snow scraper with the brush, and she's about to obviously get out and scrape a hole in the window so they can see when they drive.
Yeah.
And the sorority sister looks at her and goes, "What is that?" She's never seen an ice scraper brush in her life. Obviously, like her boyfriend does all that for her. Or whatever. and when the house mistress gets out, she's scraping the fuck out of the window, and she's just like, "These fucking entitled bitches." Just this great little touch where they're kind of like turning on each other or whatever, and then she scrapes this little hole in the back windshield, and you just see his creepy eye from the back seat in the hole. And then the car jolts, and then boom, blood all across the back windshield, just like neon red. And it's just the way it was executed was I think it's really, really underrated as remakes go, because it could not ever have competed with the original. So you had to go into it with a certain mindset of like, this is just the own thing, and if you didn't do that, then you hated it automatically. So I really, really like it.
That's a solid choice.
It's not a great movie, but I really, really like it, and I definitely I feel like my December is not complete unless I've watched it.
Well, that makes sense.
And by the way, interesting, the IMDb, the Rotten Tomatoes critic score is 14%, but IMDb is 74%.
No way.
I guess
What's the audience score?
I guess I'm
Rotten
not
Tomatoes?
alone on the. Good question.
That's got to be higher, because I was looking at.
It's always higher, but I wonder if it's like significantly higher.
Well,
that's only 40%. So.
That's better than 13.
But the 60% are fans of the original. I guarantee you.
Yeah, I can.
All right.
Okay, so my last one.
Here's your all through the house.
All through the house.
I'm just gonna say it for you because.
You know what's funny? So I actually discovered something. I've seen this episode. I mean, I don't watch things on like there's a few horror fans who like watch the stuff constantly over and over again. I usually watch, if I really love something, I'll watch it maybe 4, maybe 5 times tops, and because I like to just think about it more.
Yeah, sure.
It's sort of like the Universal monster films. Like I haven't seen the majority of them, but I like the characters more.
Right.
So I'm a little bit this way with this episode. So I've seen this episode maybe 2, 3, 4 times, and then the one in the original 70s film once.
Okay.
That was enough for me.
Right.
I had no fucking clue that this episode, which is the second episode from Tales from the Crypt, was written by Fred Decker.
Oh shit!
Directed Monster Squad and Night of the Creeps.
Yep.
Directed by Robert Zemeckis.
Get the hell
Swear to
out
fucking
of here.
God. I never do that. And
he's such a distinctive director, you would think you would just know it.
And get this, I never knew that Fred Decker directed the first episode, The Thing from the Grave.
Okay.
So I didn't.
That's crazy.
And what's funny, as big as a fan as I am of Monster Squad and this episode, I never connected the dots, which just makes me glad we're doing this show, because I would have never known. I would have never known.
Now this makes sense.
So shout out to Fred Decker and Robert Zemeckis. Also, this episode, Santa Claus, who is really a mental patient escaped from an asylum, is played by Larry Drake. Which
actor.
I'll say that name, and most people are like, who is that?
Darkman.
When you see his face, you'll know exactly who the fuck he is.
And Dr. Giggles.
I knew him as Darkman. I don't know who the fuck Dr. Giggles is, but I could see him playing a man named Dr. Giggles.
Yes.
So synopsis for this film: a greedy woman makes a mistake of murdering her husband, while an escaped mental patient dressed in a Santa Claus outfit is on the loose. That's all you need to know. Is woman kills her husband, and
that premise is.
And someone keeps
just a winner.
Someone comes knocking, and someone's walking around all through the house, and it's Christmas themed.
Yep.
Obs. You got your Santa, you got your Snow,
yep.
You got your Tales from the Crypt, you got your Robert Zemeckis, you got your Fred Decker, you got your Larry Drake. I mean, it's practically
made for you.
It's practically the '80s. It's a Wonderful Life.
Yes.
If you really sit and think about it.
That's awesome.
No, but this is probably like the first Tales from the Crypt episode I ever saw. Mm-hmm. It was either that one or Dig That Cat, He's So Cool, where the guy gets a heart transplant. He gets a cat's heart and dies a bunch of times.
Yep.
I think Sci-Fi was showing like all of season 1 or something like that, or doing a marathon. But this is the first one I saw, and it really fucking stuck with me, especially when you see Larry Drake at the very end holding like the little girl's hand, looking up at the mom with an axe in his hand. The vibe of it is very. It's Christmas through the roof.
Yep.
And again, like total. So I always forget that Tales from the Crypt episodes are not as long as I remember them being.
Right. Right. No.
So you could fit in this Twilight Night of the Meek and all through the house in less than an hour, practically. And
I'm definitely doing that tonight. At least the Twilight Zone one.
The Twilight Zone one.
I can't wait.
In a perfect world, if I didn't have such a boner for Tales from the Crypt, I would actually consider Twilight Zone Night of the Meek being number 1.
Well, I mean, All Through the House is more horror.
It is more horror, so it had to take that list. And plus, that one meant more to me.
Right.
Growing up, getting into and that was my door. That was the gateway to Tales from the Crypt.
Totally.
But I just remember feeling weird about going down the stairs as a kid after seeing that episode because I always imagined like what it would be like to see that Santa coming up at me, and it really fucked me up.
Yep.
And it's not even like a gore fest. There's a little bit of blood in the beginning when the woman kills her husband, but aside from that, it's just a house invasion story.
Yep.
And it's fucking terrifying, and it's super worth checking out.
That's awesome.
I love it.
I'm really glad. I knew it was going to be here number 1, but I'm really glad it was because I have a similar reason for the reason my movie is number 1.
What's your movie? Well, real quick disclaimer.
Yes.
You can also watch this Tales from the Crypt movie version.
Yes.
Same thing, except Santa Claus is like this skinny hobo-looking dude, and it's not as scary as Larry Drake.
Right. No.
Yeah. Okay. All right. So that's it for me.
With Larry Drake.
All right. So you're number 1.
So here's the thing: is I noticed that almost none of the movies really, in any of the Christmas category, were actually scary. I saw Gremlins as a kid. At a time when I was really impressionable and, movies could scare the crap out of me more than now. Like Poltergeist, maybe hide under a chair.
Yeah.
And Gremlins didn't scare me. Most Christmas horror movies are not scary. And even the ones that are really well done horror movies like P2 or even the Black Christmas remake, they're not scary because the situation is just an implausible setup for mayhem. And you can't picture yourself being in a situation where you're in a sorority house and it's frozen and 911 doesn't work and I mean none of those combination of
you
events.
were a brave kid because I couldn't look at the Gremlins in the Warner Brothers store growing up.
Well, the design is creepy looking, but they're not scary. Black Christmas original is probably the only truly scary movie out of this. Even Silent Night, Deadly Night, it's not scary. It's more fun than scary.
Yeah.
So my number 1 movie for what I watch Christmas gets me in the Christmas mood horror wise is a movie called Dead End. It's
I've never seen that one.
It's starring the amazing Ray Wise who played Leland Palmer in Twin Peaks. And Lynn Shay, who is a fucking miracle in this movie. She is so good. And the premise of this movie, so you would really like the premise of this movie because the premise is very Twilight Zone-y. Because it's a family that's on Christmas Eve that are driving to go to relatives or whatever. And they end up taking a shortcut, and the shortcut puts them on a forever road that keeps repeating. and they're just not.
Oh, that's kind of cool.
And there are just these incredible. So the family is breaking down, and the characters are super unique, but there are just authentically scary fucking things that happen. But it's still got a holiday vibe, right? So I'll give you two of my favorite examples.
I'm sold on the premise already.
Yeah,
That sounds.
it's an amazing movie. It's 2003. It looks like it's newer than when it was actually shot. It's a very, very under the radar movie, but there's really a lot of jump out moments from this movie. But one of my favorite moments is there's a guy in the movie. His name is Brad, and they're in a car. They're in the car that they're driving through, and like weird things are happening, and then they hear a scream from the car. They go off. I'm just gonna let you watch it, but I'm not gonna spoil why some of the characters went out into the woods because it's weird. But so they hear a scream and they run back to the car, and the Brad character is gone, and they can't figure out where he went. And then this hearse goes by, and the hearse, like the camera follows it, and just when it's getting out of sight, Brad jumps up in the back window and just puts his hands on the glass like, help me, and then it's gone. And it's just such a creepy, great shot.
Carnival Soulsy.
Yes.
A little bit.
You're on it. You're onto something there. Because I think that's pretty much the plot of this. But
no shit.
So I'll tell you, I'll do the spoiler for that. But that's the, and actually it was the poster. So that's what I'm showing Nick right now.
That's
shot,
cool.
Which is a really cool shot. But there's another scene where they pick up this woman, and she's acting, pretty normal, and they're just having a conversation. They're in the car, and the rest of the family disperses for something, and she's got a baby. She's holding a baby, and she tells there's one guy in the car left, the boyfriend of one of the characters, and she says, "Do you want to hold the baby?" And the guy says, "Sure." And he's holding the baby. Well, actually, I think he hesitates like most men would when you randomly hand him a baby. Right? But he hands her the baby, and she goes, "My baby's name is Amy." And the guy's like, "Oh, I mean," he's like reaching out, and all of a sudden he looks down, and he goes, "Wait, how can she breathe with all these blankets on her head?" And the girl's like, "Oh, no, don't worry, she's dead." And he goes, "That's a good one." And then he looks down and he's figuring it out. Like, he thinks she's kidding because she's acting normal-ish, but she just casually said that the baby's dead. And he pulls the blanket away, and it's so grotesque.
Hey.
It's so awful. And it's just, it just gives me the creeps now, whatever. But then, the cast is amazing and then Lin Shaye does some profoundly weird shit. You will never see a character do in a horror movie in this movie. And she does it so casually, like she's a goddess. It's amazing. So it's an authentically really, really creepy movie, right? But basically, it's in the beginning of the movie, Ray Wise nods off while he's driving, and then his family yells at him, wakes him up, and they narrowly dodge a car. And they're like, we gotta find some place to stay. We gotta pull over. We were too tired. And he's like, no, I'm fine. It was just a moment, whatever. But at the end of the movie, it turns out that they probably did hit the car, and everyone in the car except for Lin Shaye, I think, died. So everything else is a dream, but maybe not, because there's actual physical proof at the end of the movie that some of the stuff you saw in the movie did happen. So it's very hard to track what actually happened in the movie. It wasn't exactly Carnival of Souls because it seems like it's more like they did go through a Twilight Zone-y thing.
Yeah.
Than the dream thing. But it's just a really, really creepy, great, perfect, weirdo movie that I've never seen anything, like it before or since, and the characters are just super unique. So I can't do a December without watching this one, and it probably doesn't.
I need to check that out.
Yeah,
that sounds
it's
right up
very
my alley.
cool. Yeah, exactly. So that's that.
That is it. That there's if you're wondering,
that's our Christmas present to you.
Exactly. If you were sitting there before you listen to this thing, and I need 10 quality things to watch
Yes.
For the
that
month
aren't
of December.
Krampus, Gremlins, Black
Yeah, that's
Christmas,
not
right.
the.
Exactly.
Those are already on everyone's list. Blah blah blah. We already know.
Yes.
Get out of here. We need some new shit. There it is.
Yes.
Hot damn, Uncle Sam.
That was fun. I actually, like I said, it's so weird that I didn't. It's one of the reasons I love that we do this podcast is you discover things as a horror fan. I did not realize how much I enjoy this holiday genre of horror. I'm gonna go watch Terror Train on New Year's Eve, like whatever. It's fine.
I want to rewatch Batman Returns now.
Yeah, exactly.
In fact, I think I did watch it for Christmas a few years back, and I got Alex to watch it, and I think she probably thought it was weird, but I just don't think she's into Batman that much.
But there are a lot of other holiday horror movies out there, so we'd love to hear from anyone who's following the page or listening to the podcast. And we'd love for you to hit us up on Facebook on the page or in the group and let us know what your favorite Christmas/winter horror movies are. I have a feeling we're gonna get, there's gonna be a little upset that we didn't bring up Rare Exports or Jack Frost or whatever. So
yeah, but like those are all part of the. It's
No,
like
I mean,
Gremlins, Black Christmas, but then once you get to like
Rare
the
Exports
B,
deserve to be on the list. I just didn't have room, and I didn't want to do 2 4-in-1s because that's Finnish, and I
didn't even realize 3 of mine were
had a Dutch one.
television.
Yeah,
But hey, what can you do?
all right, so
there it is, 10 Christmas films. And if you're at the end of this podcast, that means you like horror. And if you want more horror, consider heading on over to our Patreon page at patreon.com/HalloWeekly, where we have running, and I think this coming Monday, or today, December 4th, we are rounding out our first story of Camp Hollow Weekly, which is a short story where you choose your own, you roll for your own adventure, see if you live, see if you die, see if you continue on with the story. And many people will die, not a lot will live, but you get a pretty kick-ass horror story in the meantime, and you get to support one of the coolest horror communities in the planet.
And we've got some super talented writers doing these stories way above our pay grade.
Yes.
So there are some really cool, interesting twists and turns in the stories, and it's worth it just to follow the story, even if you don't make it. I'm just so excited every time there's a new development in the story. And
I read what they write, and I'm like, God damn. I'm glad I'm not writing it because mine would just be like, I don't know. Yeah,
no, total shout out to Jenny and Alex for what they're bringing on the horror story front. These are stories where if it was printed and then it was in a book and I bought it and read it as a short story, I'd be like, damn.
That was money well worth it.
Yeah, that's a great.
So head on over to that. That's patreon.com/HalloWeekly. The higher tiers, the more rolls you get in the Slack game to survive onto the next.
Absolutely.
Onto the next story. And if you don't, you what's funny is after today, we're gonna wait a few days to see who dies, and then we got to post the in memoriam.
Yep.
In memoriam video,
which will be fun.
Coming right up. So there it is.
Happy December, guys.
Happy December, and until next time, watch a bunch of movies and stay scary.
Bye.
Bye.